Well, a wave of UFO sightings over the skies of Wisconsin. They're being called the Firefly UFOs, showing up multiple locations, caught on camera by multiple eyewitnesses. The man who broke this story is former FBI Special Agent Ben Hansen. He's the host of the Discovery Channel show UFO Witness. He's got a great YouTube channel, and we've sat down to do a longer redacted conversation piece, which will be coming out in a few weeks. Ben, welcome back to the show.
Hey, thanks, Clayton. How's it going?
Doing well, and congrats on this story. So this is breaking news overnight, your story here on these amazing UFOs. So first of all, just give us some context here. How did you come to this footage, and how did you start to put all of this together? I think you've personally called it one of the most compelling pieces of video that you've ever seen.
Yeah, of this type of phenomena, it's pretty crazy. I was led to somebody's Facebook page in Wisconsin, Chris, who had put together a compilation of videos because he had seen something in that same time period. And he said, hey, is anyone else out there that has witnessed these strange lights? And I started looking at the videos. Now, initially, my gut instinct with these things has been, yeah, could it be some sort of a searchlight or something? But this had some very unique qualities to it. Some things just didn't add up. And so I started looking into it. I started talking to witnesses. My research partner, Brittany, and I, doing the groundwork. We have police officers, firefighters, airport managers, air traffic controllers. They're all baffled. And everybody just wants an answer. Basically, what initially I guess the ground zero for this particular case happened on December 1st. And
so this is recent. This is just a few weeks ago.
Yeah, just a few weeks ago. And we have Kimberly and Ken. Now, these two witnesses didn't know each other at all. And Kim was with her husband. And you have to understand, this is a very rural part of Wisconsin. It's about 15 miles just off of Lake Michigan, but it's farmland. I mean, West Bend and Fredonia, West Bend has about 32,000. I think Fredonia is a little over 2,000 in population. Little tiny towns, and let's just say if there's something big, an event going on, everyone knows about it. So they're driving home, and they start seeing what Kim described as some sort of a flash of light, a grayish sort of an orb. She first thought was an owl, and it was dodging in and out of her headlights. So they saw it about 3 or 4 times, like, hey, this can't be an owl. This doesn't happen that often. And they pulled over, and they started to see these lights up in the sky that were kind of dancing around, kind of ascending and coming down. And she pulled out her phone, started filming. And what's really, really great about this case is not only do we have that vantage point, but we have Ken, unrelated, didn't know her husband, and he's about 5 miles away to the northeast, and he went out to get his mail. So completely dark out there, goes out to get his mail, and he looks up at the sky and sees these lights kind of, he said it was almost whimsical. They were kind of chasing each other in a game of tag, and he realizes he has his phone and film. So what you see in the breakdown is the 2 vantage points, which are synced up perfectly. The time codes everything of what we call 2 phases or waves. And in the first phase, they come down and they stream across the sky from sort of a circle and spread out. In less than a second, they're across the sky. And then 8 seconds later, a next wave comes. But in this case, we have, I believe it's 4 lights, and a 5th one looks like, as they're traveling formation, it zips into place almost as if a place had been waiting for it, like you'd see, like an air show. Yeah. And it comes into formation, and those ones take, several seconds to cross. So very, very strange. The movements, the intensity of the lights, everything that we've been seeing, we just don't have an answer yet.
So when you talk to the police officers, firefighters, and air traffic controllers, now they also saw it, or they heard reports of it. I'm curious. It always adds a level of credence to a story when you have these people in authority, because very often they don't necessarily want to come forward and talk about it. They might be ridiculed at the office, but you have police officers, firefighters, and air traffic controllers all saying, we don't know what this was.
Well, a lot of them were brought into it because of the Facebook page. and they saw what videos have been posted. A lot of it was done because Chris, one of the witnesses, had contacted them. We are uncovering new witnesses. For example, we've called at least 3 of the city halls, because all of the communities there one of the theories, of course, would be the searchlights. They have to have a permit to do that. And for a commercial and do it legally, none of them reported anyone has applied for a permit, and none of them knew of anything going on. However, one of them who worked at City Hall said, "Yeah, I'm glad you called. I saw the same light." Wow. I saw one of them, though. Now, if you've got these people seeing them for only a couple minutes, every few days, it seems like there's been something, but for a few minutes, that's another, I think, supporting piece of evidence that tells us this is not a deliberate advertising campaign.
Right.
What are you advertising if you're only turning a light on for a minute?
Yeah, and so searchlights, I mean, I grew up seeing those, for like a carnival or something like that, or, you see them in the Batman movies, right? Like the bat signal in the sky, they're spinning around, and you know exactly where they're coming from. And in the video, and we're going to show the slowed down version of this, I thought that this was really compelling, because the slowed down version of these, is it 5 of them, 5 points of light? Well, as you slow it down, they start to disappear and trail off one at a time, or not all in unison, which if you're flipping off a searchlight, it would all of that would turn off at the same time, right?
Yeah, and so I'm not an expert in this, and that's why we've reached out to the nation's experts in searchlights. And that's one key aspect, that if we're dealing with like a xenon or an LED bulb, they, first of all, have a very limited distance. And these are the types of lights that would be able to whip around very quickly. But they're very limited in distance. And like you said, you can program them. You can have them run by a computer to do that. But it's an additional complexity that, why would you do this, right? The way that they slowly fade out as they gain distance, the way that they look like they're almost traveling horizontal. There's no beam whatsoever in any of these videos being projected upward.
Right.
Sometimes you don't see a beam on searchlights, but that means the intensity has to be so great, for you to even see the light itself, you'd have to be right up on it. So there's just so many aspects.
Well, that's why I love the work that you do. Like, even going back to your old show, Fact or Faked, on the Sci-Fi Network, right? But, I mean, it's unpacking the evidence here. And so it's very easy for someone to jump on Twitter and just say, it's searchlights. Well, okay, let's unpack that. This is a very rural area. Why would you buy or have searchlights at all? You'd have to get a permit for them. Yeah. There weren't any. City Halls confirmed that there wasn't any. And they also don't have the characteristics, once you start to dial it in and look more deeply at the video, that they're not searchlights. So if they're not searchlights, then what do these eyewitnesses think they were? Did they feel like that they were intelligent, some kind of intelligent craft of something?
They've been very objective. I haven't had anyone speculate. We've never heard the word alien or anything like that. But they're baffled because they're completely silent. Like you said, we've always have an open mind. We're going to find some new technology, some new searchlight that no one has really been using right now. But in this case, if I told people, Clayton, it's very important that we're very specific. People can't just come out and say they must be searchlights. I need to know the model, the type, when and where and who. Because if this is explainable, we need to be able to filter this out in future cases, so that others aren't spending time, or there's safety issues like at the airport. We need to be able to filter that out. And as of yet, nobody is able to tell me how any particular searchlight is able to do everything that we're seeing here. So if we can, and if we do eliminate that as a possibility, this is, to me, reminiscent of some of those older cases that we're seeing, like the Foo Fighters, in World War II, which were Orbish lights that didn't appear like necessarily solid objects even, but they would dance in and out of the clouds. We have 1952 over DC,
right?
And they were chasing lights such as this. So it's not necessarily a new phenomena, but the fact that so many people are seeing this, right now, and that we can't come to a conventional, explanation is very strange.
What did the air traffic controllers say? Because would this have shown up on radar, or did it show up on radar? Were they in the booth at the time? I'm just curious on that piece of this.
So this falls within Chicago Center. ARTCC, and we've talked to someone who kind of volunteered to help us out there, and they've checked all the locations of the witnesses, the times. They said there's not even a plane here in the air at that time.
Wow.
And it's kind of like, you look at the video and you tell me, like, why are we even researching planes? I mean, these things are taking off a second they've crossed the horizon.
Right.
But we have to check every possible explanation in order to rule it out. And so planes, who knows? Maybe if they're solid objects, these things would show up, but they're not getting anything on primary radar data, which is the one that that picks up on the actual signatures and paints the targets. It's not transponders or anything like that they have to rely on. So the weather, we've looked at that too. What kind of weather phenomena would cause this? And I kind of laugh because people who, they're kind of like browsers of information and don't really read. They throw out ball lightning, solved.
Right.
Ball lightning. Do you know anything about ball lightning?
Right. Swamp gas.
It doesn't repeat like this. So, people are going to say what they're going to say.
Yeah, from multiple locations with really stunning video here. But I'll get you out of here on this question, Ben, which is the size. It's hard to tell from the video, but did the eyewitnesses give you a sense of size of these orbs, these whatever it is, craft or otherwise? And you said they're silent.
That's a great question because, first of all, we have to make some assumptions. We can't say for 100% certainty what Kim saw on the ground level was what she saw in the sky, but it is very coincidental that these orbish lights she felt were like probably initially the size of an owl, if she thought that's what was dodging in her car. But then as they take to the sky, you have to think the intensity of these was seen for at least, I'd say 5 to 8 miles, because
Wow.
That's the distance between Ken and Kim. It's more probably like 8 miles. We haven't done the math yet. It is really difficult to estimate, but the ceiling of the clouds was about 6,500 feet. So from there, I suppose once we get further into this, some really smart people can do the geometry here, and we might be able to estimate. But right now, I'm just guessing based not on the math, but I would say these things are no smaller than probably 10 feet in diameter, but they could be upwards of 50 or 100 feet wide. I have no idea.
And then I imagine once you get the triangulation too, and you have a gentleman at City Hall coming forward saying, I saw him as well, and then being able to try to pinpoint those locations and times to try to maybe a deeper map between those would be really interesting.
It's a lot of work.
Yeah, I can imagine.
It's a lot of work because, we're getting so many reports and we just don't know, is this the same phenomena? Can this one be explained? Was there an event or a light show over here? And, we do weed through that because we have found a few Christmas light displays, some known things that are going on. And then we can actually call those people and say, what type of light were you using in your display? Oh, that's one of these theatrical LEDs. And we look up the specs. Okay, that goes 700 feet. Great. That's what people are seeing over here. So it's just a lot of work. Mm-hmm. And so we caution people, this is a developing story. We're still getting leads coming in. Today is really kind of the first day that it's really just broken free into the mainstream news. And hopefully that'll help us in getting more people to come forward.
Yeah, the New York Post covering it, the Daily Mail. I think, hopefully my friend Tucker will be covering it as well. That'll be great. So as much news as we can get on this, the better. So Ben, thank you so much for joining us. Anytime. We love to cover these stories here on the show. We're passionate about it and want to get the truth out about it. So thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate it.
I appreciate being invited and at least, just the awareness that people realize this is worthy of study. It's worth of looking into, and let's try to solve it together.
Thank you so much for watching this segment here at Redacted. We are live every day at 4 p.m. Eastern Time, trying to share the stories that the mainstream media will not cover. You should also come over and join our community of Redacted Rebels over at redacted.inc. That's our private locals community where we can share exclusive content that we simply cannot share here on YouTube. Come over and join the rebellion together right now by going to redacted.inc. We'll see you next time.